at a period before slavery. The historical resonance that we would look at might look at the west coast of Africa, any space from, let's say, the Senegal River in the north to the Congo in the south, and it might ask about relationships there. It might ask about the questions of gender parity. It might ask about the nature of matrilineal versus patrilineal relations. What we might find is that both of those kinds of situations, the patrilineal and the matrilineal, are situations that indicate healthy dynamics within communities.
We have to be mindful when we talk about history and then slavery as well. Our history goes well beyond slavery. We also come from a very, regal lineage in Africa, whether we're talking about Kemet or Timbuktu or Shanghai or Mali or any of the indigenous African cultures where our women were held in very high esteem. Not only the women who held the throne, but also the matriarchal foundation. The women were the spiritual leaders, the women were the healers, the women were mindful when we talk about history and then slavery as well. Our history goes well beyond slavery. We also come from a very, regal lineage in Africa, whether we're talking about Kemet or Timbuktu or Shanghai or Mali or any of the indigenous African cultures where our women were held in very high esteem. Not only the women who held the throne, but also the matriarchal foundation. The women were the spiritual leaders, the women were the healers, the women were the teachers, the women were the guides.
We might look at slavery and we might say, one of the things that has come out of slavery are households that have been dominated by women. Without understanding the period that exists before slavery, the thing that we miss is that households dominated by women or households that focus on matrilineal succession or the matriarchy are not aberrations. They are, in fact, elements of adaptation, of evolution, of sustainment of community in which all the partners agree on how those things should happen.
When we talk about respects and understands my voice, that's important to me. We are a partnership. I don't walk behind you. I walk beside you, just like you walk beside me. I'm not perfect.
What you're saying is absolutely true. I wanna confess. I wanna confess that what he is saying is absolutely true. And the way he's thinking about it and the way he's expressing it is true for very many men. I myself ruined a wonderful, fantastic, benevolent relationship because I moved when I got the fucking inclination to move. But when he got the inclination to move, it was like, nigga, you got me fucked up. Like, I absolutely would not move on this nigga's say-so. And I moved a lot on my own personal motherfucking say-so. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it was very clear that it was like, bitch, you gonna do what you wanna do? And I'm like, pretty much. I definitely ruined that relationship because I listened to myself. But I will say this, I am better off after that relationship without that nigga. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay,
so I'm not saying, hold on, I'm admitting to you that yes, that really contributed to me and that nigga not being me and that nigga no more, okay? And this is my husband. But after that shit, after I learned to fucking listen to me, nigga, and I realized what I was doing, it was a much better situation.
Okay.
So
I'm not saying that all men. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody to be confused into thinking that I'm suggesting that all men know what they're doing. I'm not saying that all men have good leadership skills or even know where they're going. I'm not saying all men. What I am saying though specifically is that when you come across, like you said, headstrong women who may have some degree of a foundation established or not, men who are taught to do the right thing do not recognize women as the rock in the foundation. They are. Okay, that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not saying it's
right.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm a very headstrong woman, and I've been headstrong since the day I was born. Even my father couldn't. Even my father couldn't get.
You better wake up.
Nobody,
Okay.
no man can.
If she doesn't submit to her father because her father is flawed, then she will not submit to you because you too, sir, are flawed. And if you marry an unsubmissive woman, you're in a world of hurt. What are you going to do? You're going to arm wrestle her for leadership in your home?
And what that means, because now here's the question: what if it's a headstrong woman?
Then you go back to what I said yesterday.
You just said the
I have
problem.
to, in other words,
Is
I have
that
to stop.
men who are raised don't think that women are. Let me say this. I have to put this on record. I run my family. I'm just going to come out and say that shit. I run my shit. I run my family. I run my family. My husband is the extension of running the family, but I run my family.
Okay.
When it comes to decisions, I have the last say so.
Okay, Don. So you asked me yesterday, what happened?
I have the first say so.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying. You asked me yesterday, what does a man do when he comes across that woman? And I told you, he stops his pursuit and he has to pursue someone else.
No, that nigga falls in line.
Pardon me?
Like a grown-ass man who sees the benefit of the situation falls in line. He assumes his position. He becomes the king of the fucking household.
You don't, men do not become kings in other people's castles. They build their own.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. You serious?
Okay.
So you're saying queens, hold on. So you're totally neglecting the entire aspect of the fact that the king's position in most matriarchal society is given to him because of the fucking queen.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
You're literally saying that entire civilization where the king is the king because of the queen. You're saying niggas don't move in the bitch's shit?
Let me acknowledge what you just said.
Please.
Wait, hold on. You don't have to say I'm getting ready to agree.
I just told you a story about a nigga that built his queen a house to move all her motherfuckers in. That's what a real man does. Baby.
I'll let you. Okay.
You need a fucking house for your family.
Are you gonna let me respond? Are you gonna let me respond? You said the key word. You said the key word in matriarchal societies, and this is what I want to say. Responsible black men who are taught to go to school, establish themselves, establish the foundation, are not raised with the concept of matriarchal. What they're taught is the only reason this is here is because your daddy failed. Or because your uncle failed, or because men have failed to do what they're supposed to do. If you all are speaking on this should be a matriarchal society, then I have to stand down and, like I said, my argument is, there's nothing else for me to say. If you feel that the matriarchal society is the way it's supposed to be, what can we say?
If you are not so stubborn, you would make a great queen. If you are not so stubborn, you would make a great queen.